Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
The topic that we are going to discuss today is called as anticipations or access certifications. Firstly, we'll talk about what access certifications actually are. Basically, yesterday we were discussing about analytics, right? And in analytics, we discussed why is used basically for reporting. And then we can have two types of reporting. One is just generating the report. The second is also taking action on it. Basically, access certification is a similar concept. What happens is within a company, you will be generating some reports which will be based on the requirement. That today your manager asked or your senior manager asked that Deepa, I need a list of all the users who are using our systems and they're based out of China. Just to give you a more relevant example, if you remember, there is a conflict going on between Russia and Ukraine right now, right? A lot of US based companies decided that they would not be doing any business with Russia going forward. Now, every company, every software company does have some office based in Russia, right? Because they are there as well. But in such scenario, if they want to stop doing their business, they will also have to lay off a lot of their Russian employees. Correct. When they have to take this call, whom they will reach out to? They will reach out to us, right? Because we are doing identity and access management. They will ask us if you can generate a report of all the users that are using our systems or which are part of our company and they're based out of Russia. Correct. This type of report is once in a while report. It is not something that you need on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis. It is just a 1-year thing. When you are doing such things, you can easily use analytics to generate such reports which you are doing for some specific purpose. And if there is a report which you need on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis or a half-yearly basis, those reports are generally part of something called as campaigns. There are basically in Saviynt and in general identity and access management as well. There are 2 or 3 kinds of campaigns where you would like to know which person has access to what application. And this is something that every company configures. We want to know. See, what has happened is we have implemented Saviynt. We have configured it as perfectly as we could have. And we are also trying to configure the correct user update rules, technical rules, that all the users gets the right access. And once they don't need it or once they are terminated, all the accesses are taken away as well. But even after that, what happens is generally there is a possibility that let's say there was an approval which was supposed to be given by a manager, but the manager was on leave and he missed that approval altogether. Or there was an access that should have been taken away from the user, but the user still have it because of any technical or approval errors, right? In that case, what we can do is we can generate a report every 3 months to see who has access to what and review it. These are access certification. What is access certification? We want to know who has access to what. And for that we will be generating or will be running a report. And we'll be doing it in a timely manner. Every quarter we might fetch out such reports. There are two parts of it. One is that you just want to fetch the report. And the second is that you want to go to the manager and ask them if the person really needs access to this application or not. Because let's say if I generate a report which has information about my entire company's employee base and the accesses that they have within Saviynt or within our company, whatever application access that they have, I, as an administrator, can never know whether they actually need this access or not. Because you might understand that Salesforce is used for sales. Box is used for storage of files. Outlook is used for email configurations. But for other more complex applications, you won't even know what that application is actually used for. Right. That is the reason the best person who can tell you whether the user actually needs that access level or not is generally the user's manager. Right. Because your manager will always know which engagement are you working on, which client are you working for, what is your technology that is required for you to work on. And they can tell us that this person don't need access to this, but they need access to this. That is, another use case could be that if there is a person who has left the company, or if there is a person who has been tagged to a manager whom he actually doesn't report to. But due to a technical issue, he has been tagged as his manager. Let's say if you are working with me on a Saviynt engagement, right, and I left the company. If I left the company, you should get assigned a manager who knows what you are working on, who is aligned to the technology that you are working on, right? But if you get tagged to a manager who is working on a Microsoft engagement, you don't even know what I mean. The manager doesn't even know what do you do and you are not aligned to each other, right? In such cases, the manager cannot even give approvals for what access you are requesting because otherwise it will come on him that he gave that approval to you. Correct. We might also want to reach out to individual managers and ask them whether this person is reporting to you or not, or whether this person is the right person who should be reporting to you or not. Even in such cases, you can launch certifications. As the user suggests, right? Certification means giving certificate of, let's say, if the right thing is being done or not. You are just trying to certify that. In this, basically, from a technical perspective, what we are going to understand is what is attestation and campaigns. What is user manager certification? Right now, what we discussed was user manager certification, that I reach out to individual manager and ask them if the user reports to them or not. The second could be user manager campaign creation. Basically, it is subtask of these. Only that if I want to get this certification, how would I do it? That is 1.1.4. And then you have attestation reporting, which is generating the report and discontinue attestation. Let's say after a certain point you don't want this attestation to again run. You can avoid that as well. What we are saying is attestation or access. Certification has been introduced to reduce rubber stamping of certification. Identify the health and risky assets in your identity application. Perform certification review for risky or high-risk entitlement and user assets. Why are they mentioning that it should be ideally only for high risk and risky applications? Because see, if a person gets access to an application, let's say like Yama, which is nothing but an internal social networking site where you can post. What are you working on nowadays? These are the latest books that you read. Right? This is not a very critical piece of information. Even if a person who is not supposed to have access to Yammer gets access to Yammer, he cannot do any harm to you. This is not. It doesn't hold true for more complex applications. For Salesforce, for SuccessFactors, Workday, Active Directory, all these applications contains information which is much more critical. Usually, again, it is not like that you cannot. Let's say do access certification for all applications. You can do that. But they mentioned that usually it is done for mostly high-risk applications. Right. Basically, you can do entitlement certification as well, where you ask the manager that this person has access to this entitlement. Should this person be having this entitlement or not? Or rather than manager, you can actually ask this question to the application owner as well, that you are the Salesforce administrator. This person has access to admin control within Salesforce, whether it is whether it is the access that the user should be having or not. Right. Those will be called as entitlement certification. Basically, everything is part of certification only. Again, as I always mention, what companies tend to do is that they'll mention the same functionality, but they will rename it because they want to make it their own. Whatever you are seeing here, be it attestation or be it campaign, more or less, it is the same thing. The only point is Saviynt has branded itself slightly differently, that you know that you are using Saviynt. But anyways, campaign. Basically, there is a slight difference between attestation and campaign. Attestation is something which you can run any time of the year. If you see, campaign is a new way of or approach designed by Saviynt as part of certification. Through a campaign, certification reviews can be launched for a selected set of certifiers. Let's say if you are launching it for a wide set of users or for a limited set of users, you can decide that. You can group together and launch certifications based on organizational needs. It's all fine. I mean, you need not get into the definition of it. It's more important to understand the concept. Basically, what happens is if you are triggering it, if you see here, if you read both the definition, you won't even be able to identify it yourself. The point is that they've just tried to, rebrand it, but how we can understand it is that both attestation and campaigns are actually part of user certification only. Now the certification can relate to the manager certification, access certification, entitlement certification, or whatsoever. And usually campaigns are run at a specified time. Let's say for 15 days, a campaign will run which will ask all the managers whether this person is reporting to you or not. Now the manager can say yes or no, or he can actually redirect the request to some other manager who is the actual reporting manager of that person. Basically, it is run for a defined time. Again, more than that. Even I can tell, but once we have live examples, maybe we'll be able to understand this better. Let's understand what is user manager certification. This is the first one that we talked about. What's happened? What we are doing is, if you remember again, as I always tell you, that we've discussed ARs, source roles, analytics, and admin. Now we are discussing attestations. Once you click on attestations on the left side, you'll be able to see dashboard data on a create new, and campaign will create a new campaign. If you see, there is nothing called as attestation within this. Just campaign is a part of attestation in itself. You click on attestation and you go to campaign and you write a campaign name, user manager, and the campaign owner. You yourself have become the owner of this campaign. What is the campaign type? Now, this is important. As I mentioned, there could be different type of campaigns: user manager, Excel certification, entitlement certification. From the drop down, you can see what all campaign types are available. Then you have applications. Are there any specific applications for which you want to run this campaign, or you want to run it for all the applications? You have made all. But in case you want to only identify users who have access to Salesforce and ask the managers whether they are reporting to you or not, right? Things like this. Or whether the person should be having this entitlement or not. Whether the person should be having this enterprise role or not. If you want to do it for a specific application, you can type the name of the application here and it will auto appear the application. And then, as I mentioned, campaigns are run for a defined period of time. Within that, the manager will have to take an action. If you see here, the number of days to expire campaign is 10 days. If the manager doesn't take an action within 10 days, this campaign will expire. Basically, we have chosen this. We have made all these settings. Then you have this select certifier from list and we have chosen the username. This is the user who will be. Let's see. He is the certifier who is supposed to take action. Again, there are two ways of doing it. One is that you keep it open, that whomsoever is responsible takes action. The second one is that you can define who is the one who is supposed to take action on these requests. We have mentioned a name, Sivahan, rather Sivahan Chung. Right. Once you have chosen that, then you can click on submit and then you can run it. Once all the details are filled, you can click on create now. It will get created. And now you can go to campaigns again. Choose a campaign that you just created and then you can run it. If you click on the certification name, name of campaign plus name of certifier you selected from the list. Once you execute it right, you will see that these two people are part of manager's certification. What will happen is once you run this list of users will get generated. The manager is supposed to take an action. Then if you see it as employment verification, which is right as well, right? Because we are asking the manager whether these two guys are reporting to you or not. Now the manager can take action on this. Let's see what actions can the manager take. The manager can either choose that this person works for me. For the campaign of the manager, I test that if the user reports to him or her, then he or she can use works for me. He says for one person. He has mentioned that this person, if you see here, does not work for me and works for me, right? And then he can finish access review. Once he does that, you will see a pop up like this, which mentions that this certification is complete. One person is working for this manager, one is not. And I want to lock this certification. What do you mean by lock this certification? That I've reviewed all the responses that I've provided and I don't want to change it. I will click on yes. Once you click on yes, this is completed. This is fairly simple. As I was giving the same example, right? That in companies, at times it will happen that if there is one manager who left the organization, people who are reporting to him might get tagged to different managers incorrectly, right? The manager might not even know that, according to the system, this person is reporting to me because I've never even heard of this person. I've never met this person because somehow he has been tagged to me. And that is what we want to avoid. That is why he's mentioning does not work for me. Then it is up to us what we want to do. Right. Then we can actually reach out to someone else and ask that ideally, who should be this person's manager? I mean, from a conceptual perspective, it is, fairly simple. Now we'll talk about the second one, which is entitlement owner configuration. We were again talking about this as well, right? That in case I want to know whether the person should be part of this entitlement or not. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to the identity repository and there is an entitlement that I will choose. Basically, there is an entitlement called as OU administrator. I'm defining owner of this entitlement because see, this is important to understand. Only a person who is owning an entitlement or an application or something similar can be the owner, right? Only an owner can tell whether that person should be having that entitlement or, let's say, that account or not. Because C manager might know whether he is working for me or not. But in what level of access within the application the user has, that would be ideally known by the application owner. Correct. That is why we are defining the owner of this entitlement. He will be the person who will be taking all the decisions related to these entitlements. Whether a person should be part of it or not. Whether someone needs to be added. Someone needs to be removed. All that stuff. His approval would be of utmost importance. Now you should. There could be multiple owners as well. It's not that only one owner could be there. If you want to define 2 or 3, you can define that. And in that case, if there is a request that goes to the application, the entitlement owner, any one of them can take action. Let's say if there is J. Doe, he may or may not approve it. But someone else did, who is part of the owner list. Even in that case, you will get access to that application. It would be a group of owners as well. And if you see, this is also fairly important, that what happens is usually there is a person who will be owning this entitlement. And there could be some subordinates as well, who is also taking part in maintenance activities. They might also get added as owners. But their rank would be rather than 1. It will be 2 and 3. Let's say if this person is not present, then in that case the request will go to them. Right? The first importance would be given to the person who has rank 1. The same example that I was giving you. If you see, here we have added another person called as Elu. And we have Jado as the primary certifier. Is the main person. If he is not there, then we can go to eLook. Similarly, we will do the same thing for some other entitlements as well. One was Bio Administrator. Then you have the View Accountant. And then you have W Admin Log Support. Right, all these different entitlements. We are defining different application owners, entitlement owners. Once you have defined the application owner, you can again create a campaign, attestation campaign. You create a new one. And this time you have mentioned the campaign type as entitlement owner. Right. And who is the owner of the campaign? System admin. Because we are creating it. Does that mean that the request will come to us? The request will go to the entitlement owner of that entitlement. Right. Now, within configurations, what we are mentioning is that we can provide approval for account and entitlement both. As in the sense, the end user, the manager, what will the manager see? the manager will be able to see the account of the user and their entitlement, whether both options are pop-ups are provided or not. If you are taking action on 2 or 3 users, you will also have to provide justification in case of approving or rejecting the request. If the user's comments pop up, then you can approve it, reject it, or you can consult with someone else. I will show you the screen first, and then you will come back here. If you see here, this is in progress. I created a campaign, went to the campaign list. I can see my campaign here. If I click on it, you can see that it is still under progress. The manager, when he or she logs in, they will see this is a list of entitlements that are there. There are 6 accounts which belong to, which have access to this entitlement. Then there are 7 accounts which have access to this entitlement. And then there are 2 which have access to the admin log. Once you click on it, you will be able to see both the users who have access to this entitlement. The access to this entitlement is for these 2 users, Visha and Ilu. What the manager can do is whether he can approve it, that yes, these users should be having this access. They can reject it, that these users should not be having these entitlements. They can say that I want to consult with someone else or I don't. You have all those options. How does those options looks like? I'll just show it to you here. See, here you can either approve it, reject it, reschedule it, or ask someone else to take care of it. Some other. You can do that. Now, where are these options coming from? If I want to reconfigure that, if I do only want the manager to either approve or reject it, I want to give an option to consult. And then what I can do is, I can uncheck these options from the configurations itself. Right. Individual action users comment pop up. Only approve or reject. I will delete consult option. Similarly, show entitlement attributes. If I want to show more attributes of these entitlements, if you see here, related to individual entitlements, we are seeing the entitlement name, endpoint name, accounts, child entitlement, and then action. Or if you go to the entitlement summary, you will see entitlement value, endpoint status, clause, and all that stuff. If you want to add more attributes or reduce those attributes, you can also do it from here. Right? State, class, description, and all of those. And who is the certifier? The default certifier is JDO because we made him the primary certifier. Here in action, you can see show or hide consult. I can switch on or off. If I off it, the person will not be able to see this option, the consult option, this one, right? Then show consult pop up on does not belong to me action. If an entitlement owner says that this entitlement itself does not belong to me, should I give them that option or not? I made it on. Whether show or hide, conditional certifiers, that is on. That means I only want to manage through primary or let's say the actual certifies. Then create revoke task for revoked items on locking, right? If there is a person who says they should, this person should not be having access to this application or entitlement. the remove task should get created automatically at that time only for that user. That access can be taken away from that user, right? If you want that, you can click on Show Consult for Own Access, right? If you want to consult for any other access, you can do that. Enable e-signature using attributes. Basically, you have all these options. You can have a look, but basically what it allows you to do is you can see that all those settings or all those things will actually affect what the end user sees, the primary certifier. This is what it is all about. It is either about accepting it. If you see, the entitlement owner needs to select belongs to me for the entitlement. They can then individually certify the users who have access to the entitlement and child entitlement if any. Obviously, what they are saying is that firstly we need to tell that the entitlement owner needs to tell or the owner needs to tell that the user actually should be having this entitlement access or not. Right? If they say that yes, they should be having it, then you can take more fine grade. Let's say request, approval or rejection tasks. Last, if the manager wants to reject it, they can do that as well, thereby rejecting access of all user accounts to that entitlement. If you want to get it, you can completely reject it. What it is talking about right now is that you are taking actions based on application. All these entitlements belongs to only one application, right? If you want, you can reject it completely. That the user should not have access to the application in itself. Forget about it, right? You can reject it. And let's say you have taken action on all of these, right? This person should not be having this access. For other three, it is all fine. And within that application, if you go to accounts, you will see that these are the people who have accounts in this application, right? And you have certified all of them. And once you have provided all these responses, basically the manager has provided all these responses. He or she can click on completing locking the attestation. Once they click on the attestation, they need to provide comments that I have reviewed it. It is all good. I approve it. And then they submit it. Basically, that is all attestation and campaign is all about. There are three kinds of reports. One is user manager campaigns, entitlement owner attestation, and usually the attestation reports. Attestation report is nothing. Basically, once you've completed a campaign, you can see here, it is 100% complete. You can export this in the form of an Excel or a CSV, right, by someone else. That's just about creating a report. That is the concept of the campaigns and attestations. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.